West Hill United is a progressive spiritual community where how you live is more important than what you believe. West Hill United is a people, a place, an idea. We are a community living out of a progressive faith, striving to make a positive difference in our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. Join us Sundays at 10:30 a.m. or connect with us at any time.
Hello and good morning to each of you who's joined with us today. Good morning, well perhaps good day would be more suitable and inclusive, as we are joined by many who are beyond West Hill's Canadian location and time zone, including myself, because I'm from the UK. My name is Chris Avis, and where I am, it's just turned 3:30 in the afternoon. But who cares about the time? It's the event that's the important thing. And I have to tell you, if you don't already know, and you should do by now, if you're a West Hill regular, that West Hill United is located in Treaty 20 and in the area of the Williams Treaties of 1923. These are the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and were previously occupied by the Seneca and Huron-Wendat First Nations. It's important to us all here at West Hill that we commit to supporting true reconciliation in the present by honouring the 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission from 2015. Regrettably, few of which actions have still been taken. To date. Sorry, that was a jump over the page. We invite you to visit the Yellowhead Institute website. This is an Indigenous-led research and education centre at Toronto Metropolitan University. This university plays an important role in holding governments accountable, advocating for the rights of Indigenous peoples, and developing models of change that support Indigenous futures. Those of you on Zoom should find the web address now in the chat. If not, you can easily find it. Just Google it later on and you'll find it easily. On to the announcements and the usual preempted, I've lost my words. The usual thing, what you got used to at this point in the proceedings is, if you have an announcement, make your way to the mic in the hall so that when the time comes, you're ready to give it. In the meantime, I can tell you about a couple of summer holiday breaks yet to come. Crafty Ladies and The Labyrinth, for both, June the 17th is their last day. But they'll be back in September, suntanned and ready for action. And Dinner with Friends also takes a brief break during the summer months, and they're back on September the 5th. But, and this is an important but, please note that the weekly coffee hour every Thursday at 10 a.m. ET is not taking a summer break, and in fact will continue to run through the summer. All conversation topics are permitted and all sexes welcomed. Now, before handing you over to the musical magic of Scott and Babette, there's something I need to say. Although all occasions at West Hill are special in their own ways, The commitment ceremony we celebrate today, as we welcome Joe's presence among us, is specially special and worthy of a special little extra, which in my case, of course, can only mean one thing: the 3-verse limerick. We love seeing Joe every time, but Pettinger's no good to rhyme. So instead, it's hello, with a big hug for Joe and a welcome mat, pristine and prime. Joe travels a lot in his van and sleeps there whenever he can. He parks in the lot, but if it's too hot, at West Hill, there's always a fan. He has much of interest to say and chats with us all on the way. Each absorbing perspective is deeply reflective. So yes, he can probably stay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's so good to be here with you today. And Chris, thank you for such a warm welcome. Could everybody do me a favor right now, whether you're joining online or there in person? Could you look at the people to the left of you? And then now look to the people to the right of you. And maybe if you're online, you could probably look up and down, kind of like the Brady Bunch if you wanted. Uh, I want you now to think about those different people that you just saw, and think about the different people in your life as well. The people in your families, your community, and the people in the world at large, people that you don't know. The reason why I'm asking you to think of this is why we come together, because we care about these relationships. We care about the relationship that we have with ourselves. We care about with the people, the relationships that we have, the people to the left and to the right of us, and people all around us, even people we don't know. And with that said, I'm so glad and happy to be a part of things. I'm so thankful. I felt such a warm welcome from everybody. And I look forward to growing our community and both our quality of our relationships, as well as hopefully quantity as well. I look forward to that. Our values, grounded in life. When we look around, it's a reminder we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. We're grounded in life together. And because we are all in this together, we choose intentionally to be guided by love. And then out of that love, we say, hey, we want to make our ability to love so that we can improve that relationship with ourselves, the relationship with the people around us. We want to improve that. So we want to grow in wisdom to improve our ability to love.
So the reading is from Simon Chucks and called To Be Loved is to Be Known. We spend so much of our lives trying to be seen, to stand out, to be remembered. But the most meaningful kind of being seen isn't about the spotlight. It's about the quiet recognition in someone's eyes that tells you, I know you, and I'm not going anywhere. It's the kind of love that doesn't just fill the silence, but understands the silence. To be loved is to be known, and to be known is to feel in some small but significant way less alone in this vast and bewildering world. And that, I think, is the whole point. Offered has wisdom for the journey. May we walk in its light.
Thank you. I have this opportunity and honor to welcome and introduce Joe Pittenger. Now, it's kind of interesting how we do things at West Hill because it's not always the conventional, traditional way that we do things. So rather than saying we did have a search committee, we did have ministry and personnel that was searching out, but in fact, it was Joe who found us. There were these two groups that were searching and seeking, and a miracle, a coincidence, happenstance, providence, call it what you will, we did find each other. Now, Joe has been with us and visiting frequently, I think since May the 4th. And in his time, he has certainly participated in coffee time, colloquy. He's attended a couple of board meetings. So he has had an opportunity to get to know us. I just wanted to go over a little bit of Joe's background. And this came from a letter that he sent to us at West Hill. And basically it said, I found you. You were looking and I found you. Joe, of course, being from Toledo, Ohio, comes from south of the border, but we don't really recognize that border too much because as we've seen in our greeting, particularly online, but when Jim and Ellen stood up, we don't really make a great deal as to what your citizenship is. At West Hill, we're far more concerned about your values, whether we do have common values. And Joe, I think, resonated earlier in his career as he came to seek out a position with us, that it was value driven and not necessarily protocol and dogma. Joe has quite an amazing curriculum vitae. He has 2 master's degrees. So I don't know whether we call him master squared, but I'd prefer just to call him Joe. Unfortunately, his name doesn't rhyme with anything, and Chris tried to grind out something, but a nice little welcome limerick for Joe. In Joe's prior career, he did spend 13 years in church ministry, 7 of those with the Salvation Army, but in his own personal journey, he found that he had to leave those positions. They just didn't quite fit with his values. Joe has participated and been a leader with the Clergy Project, and we've heard that kind of bandying around a little bit. I didn't know a whole lot about it, so I did the very basic, simple search. But the Clergy Project was launched in 2011 to create a safe and secure online community of forums composed entirely of religious leaders who no longer hold their deep supernatural beliefs. And Joe had become a board member in that group, assisting other clergy that says, I can't buy this much longer. So it is a coincidence, as I said, that Joe, as we were looking for our visual and inspirational leader, we had to find a position. And in the deliberations, as we were coming to an agreement with ministry and personnel, with clergy, John's celebration group, we found that VIL didn't quite fit. So Joe worked with us and we said, well, let's call him executive director. We won't call him Ed, but we'll call him executive director. So Joe has had an opportunity to get to know us, but this is Commitment Sunday. This is a big deal, and this is a commitment that we make to him and he makes to us. And I really look forward to the next 15 or 20 minutes, because what will happen is Aaron and John will interview Joe as we move into this commitment process. So as board chair and speaking on behalf of the community and friends of West Hill, we welcome Joe and we look forward to committing to a future together with our shared values and doing things the West Hill way. So now I would pass the microphone metaphorically over to John and Aaron and just say once again, welcome, Joe.
So I have the honor of kicking this off. So I'm going to explain to you what we're going to be doing with our worldwide interview of Joe. Just to put in perspective, that's not intentional. We're here in Scarborough, Ontario, physically. Some of them mentally are other places, but that's fine. But Joe is in Ohio, and John, our other interviewer, is in Scotland. So we are covering a significant portion of the globe. This is a worldwide event that West Hill is welcoming Joe, and we have the opportunity to get to know him a little bit better. The format's going to be, I'm going to start with asking a series of questions, and then John's going to ask a series of questions. It's going to go back and forth like that for about 20 minutes, and then if we have time, which I won't know because that clock doesn't work in the back of the hall. If we have time, we'll take questions from the floor and from Zoom. But you know, Joe's not going anywhere right away. So over the next couple of days, couple of years, hopefully, you can get those questions answered as well. So I'm going to start, and this first set of questions I call this or that. It's not meant just to be a warm-up. Joe, we don't need super long answers unless you're feeling like unless you're really positional on something. But it's just sort of get an idea, get warmed up with the questions. Are you all set?
I'm good, yes. I will do my best to keep answers short here. I like to talk sometimes.
John, is there anything I didn't cover or you want to jump in with before we start?
No, go ahead, Aaron. All sounds
all right.
good to me.
This or that. These are just warm-up questions. Joe, do you like dogs or cats?
I love them both, but I have a little buddy who is a cat, and he's the best, so cat.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
I have to admit here, I really haven't gotten into either one. I think I watched Star Wars when I was in junior high, and it just didn't catch my attention. So I'm up for a movie night though at some point. I apologize if I offended anybody with that answer.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oxford comma, yes or no?
Yes, because all during school I had to go by APA format, and it's forever embedded in my brain that I have to use it.
So there's actually cheers in the hall when you said yes. I think some people were going to throw their shoe at me, but I've seen that start fights before, for sure. Facebook or Instagram?
I don't do a lot of social media, but I never do Instagram, so Facebook, I guess.
Mac or Windows?
Mac.
I guess we can stay friends, maybe. Freud or Jung?
Young.
Ocean or forest?
Both are good. So a combination. Now we're talking.
Early riser or night owl?
Night owl.
Books or podcasts?
Now, more so podcasts. When I was in graduate school and seminary, for years I had a goal of reading one book a week. And sometimes that goal was given to me. But then afterwards, I kept up on that goal until podcasts were becoming more popular. And it's a little bit less to do than doing a whole book a week. You can kind of do a couple podcast episodes. So that's what I go with now.
Alrighty, especially with your driving, I'm sure.
Yes.
And my last question before John takes over is Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
The Beatles, when I was in high school, I had the greatest hits CD, and I rotated between a couple CDs, but at night I would put on music to go to sleep to, and the Beatles was in the 3 or 4 CDs that got rotated every night.
And over to Scotland.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, John.
I like that last answer. I like the Beatles. That was a good one. So we're going to move on a little bit now, and
slightly more serious. So we're going to kind of ask a little bit about your background. So first off, where did you grow up?
Yeah, thanks for the question, John. I grew up in Ohio, and as Scott was sharing earlier, my father was a minister as well, and so I grew up right next door to a church. And then, unfortunately, when I was younger, he passed away, and I went and lived with my aunt and uncle all the way in Kansas. And when I found out I was moving to Kansas, I thought, what am I doing? And what am I going to do here? You know, just stare at porn all the time. But I end up really enjoying my time living in Kansas as a teenager. And then for college, I moved back to Ohio.
Well, that's quite a varied background. So would you like to share a memory from childhood or early adulthood that still makes you smile even today?
Hmm. The first thing that comes to mind when you ask that is, so I lived on, the side of the street where our church was, and then across the street was a little ice cream parlor, and we didn't have a lot of money, but every once in a while, my parents would give me a little bit of money to go across the street and get ice cream. And so that memory of and what I loved is I didn't just have to get the cheap cone. They said they give me a little bit more, and I could get the what was it, the chocolate chip cookie dough flurry. And I mean, how can you go wrong with the good memory of ice cream? But that yeah, maybe because it's summertime and I'm you know ice cream's on my mind, but that's just a pleasant memory I have from childhood.
And is that one that's a taste? Have you still got the taste for the chocolate ice cream then?
Well, it is my still one of my favorites, and I don't know if it's because I love chocolate chip cookie dough flurries, or if it's just a reminder of that good memory. And in fact, my brother is here from Japan, and we are going to go back to where I grew up this next week. And the ice cream place better be open. That's all I'm saying. I'm hopeful for it.
Well, here's hoping, fingers crossed.
Yes, yes.
If you had an entire free day with no obligations, how would you choose to spend it?
I laugh because unfortunately, probably ChatGPT knows more about me than maybe I would like for it to. A while back, I asked ChatGPT. I said, based upon what you know about me, make fun of me, roast me, and it said, for a day off, I would consider it relaxing to make a spreadsheet that tracked personal growth goals, as well as I would be laying around thinking if the Stoics and Spinoza were in a group chat together, if they would get along. And that's what ChatGPT said about me. For me, a relaxing day. I do like to sleep in as a relaxing day. And I do like to look at my goals and my values because I think it helps me feel connected and rejuvenated to know I'm on the right path. And I enjoy reading, listening to a podcast, spending time in nature, and then just spending time with people, usually with a good meal.
Great. We'll go back to Aaron now.
Thanks, John.
All right, continuing from the hall here. Why does storytelling matter to you?
Why does storytelling matter to me? I think when we tell stories, we are sharing. And I even think about earlier this morning, during our time of sharing, it was people's stories. It wasn't people saying, yesterday I walked, 7,000 steps. Yesterday, my resting heart rate was, 71. Those are facts and those are good. But the stories give context. And what they do is, after people would, tell a story, we would say something along the lines of, we share the joy. And so it's an opportunity for people to share about their life and to invite people in to what their life is. And then for other people to relate and for them to respond with a story where they can connect and relate. So I think storytelling, it's important because it's really creating on-ramps for us to get to know and to love one another. And even during the interview process with West Hill, I think at one point I was actually sharing a little bit of my story. And I before I shared my story, I said, really what this is an opportunity for me to share my story and for West Hill to share its story and to see how and if our stories can work together and to make a story together for the future. So I think overall, sharing our stories, it's a chance, and as Chris read, to know is to love, and to love is to know. He said in a little bit different way, but it's a chance for us to share and connect and to understand each other.
Thank you for that. My next question before we go back over the pond is, what does compassion look like to you?
What does compassion look like to me? I think one of the greatest signs of a mature person can be simply if they put themselves in the shoes of another individual, another group, another way of thinking about things. Even the word compassion, I believe it comes from the Latin, co, meaning together, to join together. For example, co-labor or co-workers. It's to work together, and I'm trying to think of the root of the root, the Latin word. I think something like that. But basically, it does mean to have empathy and to have empathy together. And so I think compassion, to simply be able to put yourself in other people's shoes, to try the best that you can to see how those shoes feel, the rocks that those shoes have stepped over. And when you do that, then to best act in the best way that you can. So compassion to me is, simply once again, to be able to try to understand what others are going through and to act accordingly.
Thanks. Over to John.
Joe, you were talking about suggesting that life isn't always straightforward or easy for people. So what I'd like to ask you, what gives you hope on tough days?
What gives me hope on tough days? I go back to just even the question of kind of a relaxing or a day off, a rejuvenating day. It's similar. During the interview process with West Hill, I was asked to do a mini perspective, and I actually spoke on the subject of hope and in the science of hope. It's this theory is led by a social scientist named Charles Snyder of the University of Oklahoma, and so he names three things in the research. And the first thing is having goals. The second thing is having pathways to those goals, because there can be barriers. So having pathways. And the third thing is having agency thinking, believing that you can. And so what gives me hope, I would say, is going back to my values. And from my values, which I would say with West Hill, I'm so thankful for the strong values that we have, because we can have goals that come out of those values. When we go through tough times, we remember our values and we can create goals. And when we create goals, we can say, hey, the situation might be difficult right now. There's a saying that says, peaceful waters don't make good sailors. Peaceful waters don't make good sailors. So no matter what's going on, and maybe that's the stoic in me, no matter what's going on, we can create a goal. And then that gives hope. There's something to aim for. And then that agency thinking, or the pathway thinking, even when there's barriers, to find ways to try to get to that goal. And then that belief that we can. So in tough days, maybe I take a little bit of time and I pity myself But I usually go back to my values and just to what I want overall in life, and try to go after those goals.
Thanks, Joe. We'll go back to Aaron now for the next question.
I'm just editing as we go here, but what hopes do you have for the West Hill community and what opportunities do you see?
Yeah, that's a great question, and way to use the word hope there after that last question there. So continuing on the hope theme, well, first off, I would just say thank you for the time to get to know me. I really do appreciate that. With that said, obviously this community, it's way bigger than my vision. It's all of our visions coming together, and it's so incredible to get to know people. And I've tried to ask the question, you know, what brought you to West Hill? What do you appreciate about West Hill? What would you like to see from West Hill? And it's all of us together. With that said, as I've been trying to hear different people's perspectives, myself, and then I've tried to approach coming into West Hill, and in the book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the most important habits is seek first to understand. That goes back to what I was saying with putting yourself in the shoes of other people, to have empathy, to have compassion. So taking all of those things, all of our voices, and considering that, my hope, 2 words come to mind. And this is somewhat general, but the 2 words that come to mind are quality and then quantity. To improve the quality of what we do, and really what that comes down to is the relationships. That's when I started out this morning, to look around, look at the person to your left, the person to your right, to consider the people that you know in your life and even the people you don't know. So to improve that quality, because all of life, it's relational. To improve that, and then the quantity, because we believe that we have a great thing. And so we want to invite people. And even going back to what we were saying with story, we want to share our story, and we want other people's stories to connect with us, that they feel that they belong, that their story belongs within our story, and vice versa. Some specifics with that. I've been brainstorming around the idea of, some discussions this summer of how can we take the already amazing things that we have and improve that quality even more. I like the concept of flourishing, because it's this continuation. It's saying that we've already flourished, but we're continuing to do so. And we might have a month-long series on that idea of becoming and flourishing. And then in the fall, I've been talking to the board and various people, something around the idea of, and I'm not sure this is the name that we'll give it, but I've tossed around the idea of calling something the big invite. Kind of basically the big share. We want to share the good that we have. And so making an intentional push to invite people into what we're doing. That could be through digital marketing, mailers to people who are part of West Hill and people who have been a part, to invite them back, to share with them the good that we're doing, and then to encourage word of mouth, because that's so important. So I've said a lot with this, but 2 big things really. My hope, and then improve the quality, and to improve the quantity, because we have such a great thing going.
Thank you. John, back to you.
Just picking up on that, Joe, what aspects of church community do you enjoy most?
What aspects of church community do I enjoy the most? 2 things, 2 big things come to mind. The value of West Hill. We're grounded in life. We're grounded in our humanity together. And that's why we come together. And everybody is welcome. And we build relationships with each other. And I think that's so valuable. And then to build on that, because there's lots of great things that we can make it part of our time where we can build a relationship. But I think what makes West Hill so valuable is that we come together and we talk about the things that matter the most. We choose out of our common humanity to be guided by love. That is the greatest value that we have, to be guided by love. And then because of that value, we want to grow in that love, to grow in wisdom. And so what excites me about church or community, whatever word you want to give for it, is that we focus on the most important things, the relationships that we have with each other, and then we discuss these big questions of life. And especially with West Hill, that we don't do so with dogma or creed, that we do so based upon values, and we can have these open discussions. That is so valuable. And I'm so excited to be participating alongside everybody in these discussions.
Right, sure. And a quick apology to Aaron, because I jumped a line backwards there. I'm sorry. So moving on quickly, while I blush. Joe, what is the sermon or perspective that you've always wanted to give, and what would your dream audience be for that?
My dream has been doing a Q&A with Aaron and John ever since I was a young child. What sermon or perspective, talk, whatever, phrase you want to give it. And then what audience? I would say it's a talk, a perspective that I gave a few weeks ago. And it was this, I took this concept from, ancient Greek philosophy. I gave a word, eudaimonia, an EU meaning good, like euphoric, good feeling, but EU good. And daimon means a life. And so how do we live the good life? And I think that so many people have their different ways to it. And I don't want to sound cliche in saying this, as I have shared, but what the ancient Greeks, what they reasoned to was that the good life was a life of virtue. And I like to say it, love. Virtue is good. And that's what love is doing good and finding out what that is. And not to sound cliche with that, but that's what, the research, as I've shared, the Harvard Study of Adult Development, the former director in an interview said, happiness, the good life equals love, full stop. That's what the good life is. And so sharing that message with people, and you said, what audience? Really to anybody who would hear, in conversations that I have, and any chance I could get a chance to speak with people, that's what it is. And I would say with that really quick as well, to live a life of virtue and love. And a lot of people might say that, and this is once again what makes West Hill so valuable, is that every week we look at what love is, which is the name of the talk that I gave. Well, what is love? We look at what wisdom is, because it's so easy for us that we can sometimes operate out of fear, or we can operate out of tradition, or some people can operate out of dogma or creed. But we have to move forward in our everyday thinking in our lives of what love is. And that is the most surefire way to living the good life. And so if you can't tell, I'm passionate about that subject. I'll leave it at that. But that is my favorite topic. And I think that's the foundation in which everything else builds upon.
Yeah, I think we're probably all agreed with that. So I'm going to throw it back to Aaron now.
So we're going to do another round of quick questions. And these are just, 1 or 2 word answers. And these are your favorites. So as an example, what's your favorite food?
Paneer masala. So good. It's an Indian dish. It's supposed to be quick. I won't go into it. Good food, though.
Favorite book?
Favorite book? Oh, there's so many that are so good. The first thing that comes to mind would be there's a book called 11 Rings. And it's a book by a legendary basketball coach, Phil Jackson. and it's about sports, but it is also about his religious upbringing, how he transitioned and how he used Zen Buddhism in his coaching and his personal life. So it touches upon philosophy, coaching and sports and religion and all those topics I enjoy. So we'll go with that.
Okay, favorite movie?
Once again, so many good ones. I haven't said pass yet in any of these questions, so I'm going to say pass on that one. There's so many good ones.
Favorite sport, either playing or watching on television or live?
Basketball. Doesn't mean I'm good at playing it myself, but I enjoy watching it.
And is there a favorite performer, comedian, singer, talker?
Even though this person isn't like maybe a typical comedian or performer, the first thing that comes to mind is there is a theologian named Rob Bell, and I put him in the when you ask about performer, is I've read and different things of how he speaks. It's an art. He is a performer in a way, even though it's mostly theology that he talks about. So that's my answer for that.
Okay, John, back to Scotland.
Thanks, Aaron. Joe, is there a recent news story that broke your heart or gave you hope that or raised your outrage or even made you laugh out loud?
Oh man. Maybe because it's recent and not to get too deep into politics this morning, but as we know, there are various things going on around the world which affects our lives and our communities. And we can look at it maybe in a lens of despair, but I think that we also can look at it in a lens of hope, to see people to rise up and take action. And so in a way, it is something that, tugs at my heartstrings, but it also, when I see people rise up for various causes, it gives hope. And I would, I'll also say with that, there's a book that was written by Steven Pinker, I believe in 2011. And try to remember the exact title of the book. I think it's called something, The Better Side of Our Human Nature, or something along those lines. But I know that we are in some times that can seem troubling. But the research by Steven Pinker, who is an incredible researcher, top notch, he shares that there is hope, that even though things can seem troubling, that when you look at the research, we are improving as overall humanity together. He brings up things such as the rate of slavery, per capita is as low as it's ever been. The rate of murder is as low as it's ever been. He brings up these different things. And so I say that to people to say the little things that we are doing, that it can be hard when we turn on the TV, but it gives me hope that people are rising up and taking action.
Thanks, Joe. Back to Aaron in Scarborough.
So there is another question on here, but I think Joe, over the last couple of questions, has largely answered it. So what's going to happen is we're going to give Joe this list of questions, if he doesn't have it already, so that he can address the ones that we haven't really brought up today, so he knows the thoughts of the community. So I don't want to put Joe in a position where he has to say the same things over again. So with that in mind, I'll give it to John for the last couple questions.
Well, this is one to put you in the real hot seat now, Joe.
Oh, man.
Well, this is the really hot seat. So what question would you have asked if you were us?
Why would you hire this guy? What question would I have asked if I was, in everybody's shoes? I can't really think of uh, other than some dumb questions I could come up, think of. Yeah, I think I would really say that it's a continuation. I don't think that there's one ultimate question that can be asked, but it's really, all of us always getting together. And this is, what we do when we come together. We are looking at life's biggest questions together. And that's what I enjoy about West Hill, is that there are no questions that we can't look at, together. So I don't know if that's really the answer, but it is in a way, in a roundabout way. So
It's a good way to round this off. Thank you.
Become a sustaining champion of West Hill United's work by committing to an automatic monthly donation. Learn more or donate now through Canada Helps.